Give me a D and a G. It's the Dawg and Gus Show. It's the Dawg and Gus Show.
Hey, coffee lovers, Dawg here to tell you about our favorite new brew, Green Army Coffee.
That's right, Dawg. Green Army Coffee isn't just delicious, it's coffee with a mission. They're veteran-owned, and every cup supports those who serve.
You can taste the dedication in every roast. Whether you're fueling up for the day or winding down, they've got the perfect blend for you.
And it's not just great coffee, it's a way to give back. Supporting Green Army Coffee means you're supporting our troops and their families.
So what are you waiting for? Grab a bag, sip smart, and support a great cause.
Check them out at www.greenarmycoffee.ca. Green Army Coffee, brewed for those who serve. Hey, Dawg, your beard's looking flickin' great, my man.
Thanks, Gus. I've been using the Bush Beard Wash.
The what now?
At Bush Beard, they know that every man with a beard is a unique beardo. And that's why they offer a wide range of products to cater to every beard's needs. Whether you have a long and luscious mane or prefer to keep it short and sharp, their products will help you achieve that perfect look.
From the nourishing beard oil and balm to the refreshing beard wash, their products are made with all natural local ingredients to keep that beard healthy, soft, and lustrous. The beard comb and brush are designed to detangle and shape your beard, making sure you always look your best.
At Bush Beard, they're dedicated to providing the best possible grooming experience for all the beardos out there. So why settle for an average beard when you can have a glorious, well-groomed one? Try Bush Beard products today and unleash the full potential of your beard.
Be sure to use Dawg and Gus 10 and get 10% off your order.
Bush Beard, the small-town brand with the big old Canadian heart. Welcome to the Dawg and Gus Show.
What's up, Dawg?
Not much, Gus. You?
Not much. What we got going on today?
We're going to talk to a couple of the guys from Propter Hawk tonight.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing well.
Great.
For having us.
Oh, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. So where did you guys sort of meet to form the band?
Well, it's kind of it's an interesting story. I actually responded to a Kijiji ad several years ago for a band. They were actually looking for a bass player. I don't play bass, and actually kind of just threw out a little proposition to see if they'd be looking for another guitar player, and they said they'd be willing to have me out. So I went out and did that. And they were still looking for a bass player at the time, and I happen to know Brian here from a couple other bands we'd been in over the past 5 or 6, 7 years previous to that, and brought him in, and here we are 4 years later.
Wow.
Kijiji.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Kijiji.
When you get your first award, thank you, Kijiji, for putting us together.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are like, what's
Yeah.
Kijiji?
What?
Yeah,
First on the list, because that's actually how I met Alec too, because I just moved to Peterborough. I was going to school at Trent University, and I just threw out an ad looking for bandmates, and he was one of the first guys to respond, and we've been jamming ever since. But it is a hit and miss on Kijiji, because I got a couple weirdos message me. Like one guy
Shocking.
wanted to pay me $100 so he could teach me how to massage him, and it's like it's. And for one, I got bass hands, so like my rates are a lot higher because I do the deep tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy, you're lowballing me here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So that person's a roadie now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we hung on to that guy for sure.
Yeah.
The guy that taught you how to massage him
Oh my God.
from the waist down.
So Kijiji, no.
What like this write up on Spotify is just phenomenal, by the way. It's just like the best. It's like it says this 5-piece rock enterprise answers the sonic question of what would happen if Janis Joplin and Paul McCartney had a love child and gave it up for adoption to estranged uncles Otis Redding and Robbie Robertson. That's fucking great. Where did that, so like what does that like come from? Like do you guys have fun with it and just sort of write something random?
It's kind of been like an evolution of writing the band bios. I think when you kind of start out, there's a tendency to go to something like super generic, and kind of going for the one you just read off was just to go for something a little more fun, a little more like just a little bit different than what a lot of the other bands are trying to do. but it's a lot of just a reflection of like our sound, some of our influences and that kind of thing, and some of the kind of musical genres or influences we're trying to just mix together and just do something different with.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. I thought it was hilarious.
Some of the people I work with would be like, I'm sorry, who? Like all your references, Otis, who? Sorry.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good. It's kind of aimed at a certain demographic, right? Because there's some people these days that wouldn't have a clue who you're talking about, which is a real shame because those are some big names right there.
For sure.
Yeah. And with Mallory, like, did you guys bring her in as like after you guys formed a bit of a band, or was she part of the process?
She was like a co-founder right from the beginning, and actually, her and her husband were basically the originators, the formers of Propter Hawk before Brian and I came in. Like they were the ones who created the Kijiji ad that I actually responded to, and so they were in it right from the beginning. Kind of started out as just like the two of them were like, they play the odd open mic or like a family get together, just the two of them, like an acoustic duo kind of thing. And then over time, they started writing like a lot of songs together, protest songs, and like recording in their basement and that kind of thing. And then it just kind of grew into the idea of forming a band from there. And that's what spurred on the Kijiji ad. And here we are.
Nice.
Yeah, because her voice is like powerful. She has a very great voice.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's crazy because this is the first band she's ever been in too, and like a few of us, we played in like 3-4 bands, before Propter Hawk. So it's like it's cool to relive that experience with her being in a band for the first time and like playing shows for the first time and booking venues. So it's just really fun having her on board.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Well, it's fun. It's you kind of live through her, right? Because like you can see, you guys have been there, you've done it, you've been in bands, you've done this, you've done that. But to watch her going, oh, this is pretty cool to watch, like her just evolve and get better and better with every show you do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I should definitely admit, I've had some new experiences too the last couple of years with Propter Hawk and playing some venues that I've wanted to play my whole life. That kind of thing. It's been super exciting.
Like, I'm gonna name drop. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, definitely Horseshoe Tavern, the Rivoli in Toronto, two big ones for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. What or who inspires you guys?
For me, it's definitely like the Rolling Stones, which can be a bit of a generic answer, but I also really like Humble Pie. Steve Marriott's one of my favorite like vocalists, and even the Faces. Ronnie Wood's one of my favorite guitar players, and I think one of the most underrated guitar players out there. So those are my influences.
Nice.
I would say definitely like started with ones some would call generic now, but like same thing like Beatles, Rolling Stones for sure. Just made me engross myself in like that era of music and rock and roll and that kind of thing. And then kind of branched out from there, like really getting into like the band, really getting into, the Faces like Brian mentioned and that kind of thing, like Rod Stewart, all that kind of stuff. Getting into like, Fleetwood Mac and all their different eras and progressions and different formulations of bands they had. And then kind of going back as well to some of the originals, like the soul of 50s and late 60s, the original like blues guys like BB King, Freddie King, all those kind of influences, and folk people like Donovan, Van Morrison, that kind of thing. So that whole melting pot of that era of music from like say 1955 to like 1975, I would say are my greatest influences.
Yeah.
Cool. That's not
like I don't
bad.
know any modern music right now. Like that I have coworkers who they talk about the latest like Drake song or Lady Gaga and like I have no idea what anyone's like listening to or what these songs are. So I've been stuck in the 60s and 70s my whole life.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I tend to go back to some of the stuff too.
We're going to tell you right now, Brian, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm quite okay with that for sure. Some of the stuff that's out there, I kind of go,
well, it's everybody has their
yes,
their
they
time.
do.
I mean, you guys didn't grow up in that era, so it's funny that do you think it's from your parents' influence or something you heard when you were younger?
I remember as a kid, my dad used to have the Harley Davidson Road Tunes, and had like Leonard Skinner on there, BTO, like all the 70s classics. But I was into Elvis in like grade 5. I played Elvis for a Christmas concert. My teacher had an Elvis impersonator come in and teach me some dance moves, and he introduced me to the greatest hits. And so that was like my first introduction to like a band, and I was like obsessed with him for a while, and then that slowly transitioned into the Rolling Stones, and that was pretty much my introduction to that style of music.
That's awesome.
It is.
I think that's great that your teacher did that. Like, I wish teachers were more like that.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was probably illegal to, have a random person come in and teach the class dance moves, but
I was going to get to that question.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like
as long as the whole class is there, it's not like, okay, hey, Brian, why don't you come with me? And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy, but
yeah, does my hair.
it was the flow. It was the locks, right? It was the flowing locks. Listen, I really enjoy that because we don't get a lot of chance to talk about the 60s and 70s music on the podcast as much because there's a lot of the people we chat with are a lot younger. So not saying that you guys are older, but it's nice. It's refreshing to have, a 60s and 70s. Refined. Okay, let's go.
Yes. Do you guys have like a pre-show ritual that you guys do as a band before you go on?
I would say yes and no. Like, in many respects, like organizing a show and putting together a show can be often quite chaotic in terms of getting there on time through a very like congested city, doing like loading your gear in, doing sound check, going to try and grab a quick bite to eat, and then people start showing up and putting out occasional fires of this band's car broke down, or we forgot the kick drum pedal, or whatever it can be, and often the night flies by quite quickly. And before you know it, you're going up on stage. I would say one notable, super boring one I have is I always give my girlfriend my wallet, keys, phone, and then I disappear.
And then you forget where they are. Oh my God, my wallet, my keys, my phone.
Yeah,
Honey.
I do the frantic like patting.
Exactly.
Heart attack at the end of the night.
Listen, you funny that you laugh at that, but there was a show we did. I was at a show, and the drummer is from a band that we know, and we spent 20 minutes looking for his phone one night when he'd actually given it to one of his friends to hold on to him for it. Like, really, dude? We just spent like the better part of a half an hour looking for your phone, and she's got it in her purse.
Textbook.
But she was helping us look.
Oh my God.
That was the funny part. And then she's like, "Oh, here it is." I'm like, "Oh my God." Anyway, that's kind of funny.
I should say we do have one pre-show ritual that I'll let Brian explain for vocal warm-ups.
Yeah, it's usually Mal, Jimmy, and I will go in my car or an alleyway, and then we'll just do like a YouTube tutorial on vocal warm-ups. So it's just a lot of weird sounds, and I'm sure we scare some people as they're walking by. But yeah,
The
but
window's
like Alex
fogging up in
said,
his car, and
it gets so
what the
hectic
hell's going
before
on
a
in
show.
there?
But yeah, it gets so hectic. Sorry.
No worries.
Go ahead.
I'm getting like a bit of a
when-
delay here.
Yeah, you've done it when the cops are just knocking on your window. "Excuse me, is everything okay in there?" You're like, "Yeah, we're just warming up for a show.
Yeah, we're the band.
We're the band."
In the high notes.
Yeah, we're scaring the birds.
That's it. And dogs. If you hit the high notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit them up, man.
Yep. Propter Hawk, where'd the name come from?
So that's a very common but challenging question that I'm going to let Brian explain.
It's an old Socrates quote. It's Latin, and like it means like a fallacy, like a fallacious argument, and it's post hoc ergo propter hoc, but it's Hawk spelled HOC, and we're like, oh. And Andy actually came up with the name, and he decided to put it HAWK because Propter Hawk HOC was already taken. But yeah, it's kind of cool though. It's pretty unique, and we confuse a lot of people. Like, we have to say the name at least 4 or 5 times before it like clues in what we're saying, because we usually get Proper Hawk or Procter Hawk, but yeah, we like to confuse our fan base.
Yeah, very good.
Excellent.
Philosophers. That's interesting.
Rock and roll
talking-
philosophers.
That's right. Yeah. That's what. Yeah. You basically, that's what you are. They're rock and roll philosophers.
There you go.
The funny thing is, you mentioned that as I actually was reading some Marcus Aurelius.
He
today.
was. He honestly
It's like,
was.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, I go to the meditations quite often, just to, I don't know, just kind of like a relaxing verse, and then you walk away.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
very cool. I like that.
Good
he
song
had to
inspiration in those books too.
yeah.
For sure. I was making a joke because there's like online, you could go up and say, like, they show Marcus Aurelius and how if someone goes back in time and says, "Oh, I love your book," and he's like, "What book?" And he's like, "Your journal." And he's like, "You read my journal?" It's like, okay, well, because you got to think, like, he wrote all that stuff for himself, but then it's become influential for so many people to read it. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder if he got any royalties for it.
Oh, he was long dead, bro.
Oh, okay,
Long
probably.
dead. Yeah.
Oh well. Smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah, be interesting to say what they have to say when they read my journal in 1,000 years from now.
We'll let you know.
Well,
Yeah.
you would have probably just passed it. Just ask Brian, right? That's what you'd have always said.
Was quite gassy today.
Quite gassy today.
Yeah.
It was a gassy day.
It was a gassy day.
A lot of beans. What's the most difficult thing about being a musician you'd find?
I'll let you go for
Um,
that one.
I would say today, it's almost like the most difficult part is doing everything that involves not being a musician. So, like in our level and kind of where the music industry in Canada is now, it's like we are expected to like set up the shows, curate the shows, design the posters, put the posters out, create content, create videos, be social media wizards and demigods. And so much of that can like take you away from the best part, which is like making the music, writing the songs, recording, the actual artistic part. So that would be my answer. Like everything but the music is the greatest challenge. And
Makes a lot of
we live
sense.
in a really chaotic world, and like the demands of having to do that all the time, like I said, can often take you away from the music when it'd be amazing to have somebody to take care of all that for you and just be responsible for the music. I'm confident we're going to get there, but not quite yet.
Yeah. No, you're right. There is a lot of pressure on like doing TikToks and stuff. Like I remember we went to a couple music seminars, and there's like industry people who've been in business for like decades, and their only advice to us is to like make TikToks. And it's like you think they would have a little more insight in the music industry rather than just trying to like cater to TikTokers. And I don't know. I think it could be inauthentic if that's just not your personality, right? So it's tough to find the balance. What's genuine to us, and how can we promote ourselves to our fan base without just looking cringy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine it's taxing, like because it does take you away from what you want to do musically and artistically, and maybe it wouldn't take you away from it probably because you're professionals and you enjoy it and it's your artistic output that you want to put out there. But I can imagine that part, if it's not natural, would be annoying. I can see, you know what I mean, like because TikTok is such a weird tool now, but certainly I understand. But and you would think that somebody would say something a little bit more enlightening than just go do some more video content.
Yeah, seriously, man. What do you take away from that? Oh, that's great. Great advice. Thanks. Thanks, guys that are supposed to know stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to see me dance, or maybe you do. I don't know.
Oh,
Well,
I
I don't know. $100 for a massage.
$100 for a massage, the Elvis impersonation.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that I'd like to unravel.
My services are all on my website.
And we won't say that here. We won't say the website here.
No.
Oh, that's funny.
You go to a Propter Hawk show, you can get a show and a massage.
Yeah.
And an Elvis jumpsuit.
There you go.
Could be a marketing
Good
tool
deal.
for you guys. Yeah.
Sounds good. Now, you guys usually booking in and around the Toronto, like the the GTA?
I think for the most part, like when we first started as a band post pandemic, we were just taking whatever show that we could get. And it was actually a struggle, like reaching out to venues because they typically want bands who could bring in a draw. So it was a bit challenging when you're new on the scene. But, with consistency, now we're lucky at the level where we have a good rapport with a lot of the bookers at like Horseshoe and Rivoli, for example, and they're pretty eager to have us put on shows there now. So I think we definitely have our venues that we really like gel with, and now we're at the point where we're playing a show maybe once or twice a month, and yeah, like for a while, Dakota Tavern was like an amazing spot for us. Like every time we put a show on there, it was like a good draw with some cool bands. And so we definitely have our favorite venues. But I think now we're kind of looking to play outside Toronto. I know we have a show in Welland on March 22nd. So we're slowly, playing out of town a little more often.
Nice, yeah. At
Yeah,
the
for sure. We're
House.
trying to lock down a good festival run this summer as well. So hoping that should take us around the province and hopefully farther this year. So working on that now. And like Brian was alluding to, we kind of had to build up our home base first. And now we're kind of getting to the stage where we're ready to branch out more and more.
Which would you prefer to be doing, like the festivals or like the venues like Brian was alluding to?
I mean, I think kind of apples and oranges. They're both amazing. Like the festivals, you're going to get in front of people who wouldn't necessarily go to like a show, a late night show in the city or whatever. You're going to get people who are just like out for a good time, maybe just happen to be there to like have a fun day, right? The prospect of like playing outside to like a large group of people is a lot of fun. It's a really cool experience, and so really love that, and just the opportunity. We went and played a great festival called Go North up in Sault Ste. Marie, and so we had a great road trip experience and camped out there and stopped off in Sudbury on the way, and so you kind of get those road trip tour experiences as well for the festivals. Kind of like Brian alluded to, like your home base, tried and true venues, like them so well. It's really easy to, not easy, but it's easier to go out and be really confident and know this is where I'm going to be on stage. This is the angle that I'm going to point my amp. I know how loud I have to put my amp, that kind of thing. And you're going to get a great hometown crowd. So both are great experiences, and we're kind of learning and getting our teeth into the festival scene now as well, which has been a great experience.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you think that living in Toronto really benefits you too? Like we're based in Ottawa, and a lot of the Ottawa bands that play here, they're a little pigeonholed sometimes, so they have to go outside of Ottawa. Whereas in Toronto, because of the size of the city and the amount of places to play, does that benefit you? Do you think you have a step up on other bands in that way?
I think it's definitely fair to say, and Brian and I had a similar experience. Like he's from Sudbury, I'm from a small town in central Ontario, and we both relocated to Toronto specifically for that reason, just for the opportunities, and it's made all the difference.
Yeah, because Alec and I started out in Peterborough, and we played in like 2-3 bands there. And it's a small scene, but it's like close knit, so you know who all the bands are. But in Toronto, there's like hundreds of venues and thousands of bands, so it's just a bigger community, and there's more people supporting local music as well. So it's definitely a plus.
Yeah, we find the Ottawa scene tight. Like there's a lot of bands here, but they all, like you just said, it's a very tight knit group. So it's cool. We do get people out, which is also awesome nowadays.
Yeah, we're doing okay. Like for the size of our city, we're doing okay relatively to Toronto or Montreal. But I think that they're a little bit more vibrant than we are because we haven't shaken that sleepy town, roll up the sidewalks at 9:00 type feel, which is a shame because I tell you, man, we've got some amazing talent in this city that people need to know about, and it just sucks. I don't know.
It's a grind for them too. I mean, it's challenging.
For every city, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Our friends Taming Sorry are from Ottawa,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if you heard of those guys, but
We know them quite well.
yeah. We've had them
Yeah.
on a couple
Yep,
of
they're
times.
good guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it's
So
funny. The bassist in that band, he lived
Alex.
in Peterborough, and
Yes.
we all joined a band together called the Ramblers. Alex, and I.
Oh
So
boy.
it's a
So-
weird coincidence.
again, Kijiji, we actually met Alex through Kijiji, so we know
Yeah.
him very, very well. And like Brian said, we played in a band with him for like 2 years. So definitely looking. Taming Sari's kind of how do I say this? Or they're preparing for another knockout blow, and we're looking to join them hopefully in the city when that happens.
That would be freaking awesome.
Yes, it would.
I
great.
no, I'm serious, man. That would be so good because we love Taming Sorry. We'd love to see you guys down this way for sure. First, I'm going to talk to Warren. We need to make this happen.
Yeah, yeah. We can make
Yeah.
that shit happen for sure.
No, because we know some of the promoters down here. We could probably, I mean, Warren does too. Like he has his own podcast. He does.
Yep.
So I think it's viable. We could definitely get it done.
Hey, man, I'd love to see. What are they called?
Propter Hawk.
No, just kidding. That was bad.
HAWC.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's yeah, we'd love to see you down here. That'd be
Yes.
amazing. Or up here, I should say.
great.
How do you guys deal with like creative blocks or performance anxiety?
Oh God.
Uh,
You, go ahead. Emily.
I would say trying to just get out and even if it's not a big time show, just going out to an open mic and putting yourself out there and getting used to playing in front of people and not letting those muscles and those instincts sleep for too long in between a show. And going out and keeping those skills sharp all the time, I think really makes all the difference. It's definitely something that I've had to work on myself, and just putting so much pressure on yourself for like an upcoming show, and making sure your chops are up to snuff and all that good stuff. But going out and just it all goes down to that like 10,000 hours thing of doing it as much as possible, making those mistakes you have to make, and learning from them, and just getting better and better from it. So I would say like, yeah, for me, working on getting out as much as possible, keeping consistent, and keeping my chops up. So making sure I'm practicing every day, even if I'm tired and don't feel like it.
Yeah, you
That's
summed it up pretty good. Yeah, it's just being consistent and active is like the best thing you could do, because then it helps you with your stage presence and your confidence on stage. And like I'm in another like side project right now just to help keep my chops up, and we also gig pretty frequently too. So I'm lucky I have that. But
In terms of any sort of artistic blocks or that kind of thing, like we have 5 people in this band, and we're all kind of writing songs, and so we're very fortunate in that, like, if I don't have a song to bring to the next practice, well, Brian does. Or if, he has a riff and a chorus, well, I likely have a bridge and a verse, that kind of thing. So between the 5 of us creatively, we can get to where we need to be.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's amazing that, like you said, there's multiple heads doing different things. It's not just one person doing everything, right? So as far as writing, which is awesome.
For sure. And they're always going to think of things that you're not going to. And as long as it makes the song better, 9 times out of 10, we're all on board with it,
Yeah.
So just being open to bringing something into a song that's maybe near and dear to your heart, but having the kind of acceptance that, hey, maybe that part that I didn't think of that Brian thought of is actually makes the song better, even though it's not my vision of the song or whatever. And just being open to that kind of change really goes a long way.
Yep. You do. Now I have to ask, because I was doing a little bit of, checking up on the band. And of course, it came up on the page, Gusapalooza. Got to ask.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because, Gus.
Oh, it was an amazing weekend. Yeah, we were just blessed with the opportunity to play the main stage on Sunday, and Alec and I went up on Friday and just hung out with the other bands. We had our friends Feral Minx play the festival, and it was just it was a wicked weekend. Just really supporting local music, and it was fun partying with all the other bands, and yeah.
It's a great experience there. They're really like doing their utmost to make it a great experience for like up and coming artists. And like I said, for that festival, it's all about the artist, and it's all about like promoting new music and upcoming artists and that kind of thing. They're not getting into like ridiculous sponsors or like anything like that, or like some great like money making venture. It's really about the music and helping artists and making sure people have a good time. So it's really impressive what they do.
Yeah. And there's two standout bands too. One was from Montreal. They're called Old Soul. First time I saw them, and they completely blew me away. And there's another band from the States. I can't remember where they're from, but they were called General Mojo, and they're like kind of psychedelic rock, and they're also so amazing. So we saw like a lot of like high caliber musicians there and bands, and it was really cool to see. Like it definitely was the highlight of the summer.
Cool. So how did you guys fall into that?
We just sent the application, and
nice.
we were lucky that they accepted it. And we definitely want to play again this year. Like it's a pretty special experience.
And whereabouts is it?
Cookstown, Ontario, right?
Cookstown.
Yeah, it's just like west of Barrie.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's a 3-day event, like starts on the Friday and goes till Sunday?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, you can come camp out, and they bring in, food vendors and that kind of thing, and buy beer and all the things you want to see at a proper music festival. And,
of course.
But other stuff too, like, like artisan crafts people, like podcast people, some local radio stuff there, which is great as well. So maybe we'll see you guys there next year.
And they have a fire that's going all night, and it's controlled by the fire shaman, which is one of the most interesting people I've ever met. We were helping him collect wood at one point, but the guy's like a philosopher. And his one job is maintaining the fire, and he takes it very seriously, and I really respect him for that.
Nice.
You would take it seriously if you're called a fire shaman.
Yeah, shaman.
I mean, which is amazing.
That's a pretty serious title.
You need that at a good festival.
I think you do. I agree.
When you're watching other bands, do you find that would you say, like, obviously you mentioned those two bands that you really connected with. When you look at them, do you look at them like as musicians, like seeing what they're doing on stage and where their hands are and all those things, or do you sometimes just sit back and act like a fan in some ways?
I'd say I'm probably different than Brian. I think he can probably sit back and see them as a fan and just like take in the whole experience. I think I can't help myself from just looking at it from the technical point of view of a musician and watching their hands and what pedal is he clicking on, or what amp is he playing through, or what speaking point did they use to get them to the next song, that kind of thing.
I'm there just screaming, I have my hands up in the air. I'm just taking it in,
Nice.
That's good.
No, it's good.
I would just imagine as a professional like yourself, like, I mean, you're being analytical, you're trying to figure out what they're doing that's different than what you're doing and maybe take a piece here and there. But certainly listening as a fan is the better way, I think, for me. But that's because I'm not a professional musician. So
yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, no, it is. And like we talk about this a lot in the show because we are not. And what we see it more as a fan base, like, and I'm amazed at like the musicianship of a lot of bands that we see, but I'm also watching them have fun, right? Like you see the interaction, like, with now I'm forgetting his name, Alec. He's fun to watch on stage. Alex from Taming Sorry, just to watch him, he's just animated and he's having a good time. Yeah. And and that's fun to watch as somebody who does not play an instrument. So it's fun to ask because, a lot of musicians will say, yeah, we're kind of a little bit of both. We are fans, but we also kind of, we'll geek out. Oh, look at that amp. I'd love to have that amp. Or, like you're saying with this, the pedals and stuff.
Well, the head nods and stuff, like the little,
the in-betweens, right? Yeah. You guys do that. Yeah. Kind of the inside things that you guys look at each other and go, yeah.
Yeah.
You
get the stank.
Yeah.
You get the stank.
Yeah.
That's right.
What do you guys do in your free time outside of music?
Just work essentially. Yeah, and then I like to do open mics. There's some good ones in the city, like Mondays at Painted Lady, Tuesdays at the Handlebar. Like every day of the week, there's a place to go and experience like the live music scene here. So I've like deeply entrenched myself in the whole music community here, and so that's like most of my free time goes to either rehearsing or going out to see live music, and then if I'm not doing that, I'm just working and maybe doing a couple push-ups in my room.
Well, it's funny you say that because Gus did 20 before we came upstairs. So
I'm on a mission to do
I can
100
tell.
a day. Yeah. Thanks, bro.
Like,
I'm
listening.
doing 100 a day every day for February for cancer. So that's my little thing.
Oh,
that I do.
nice.
So every
Very
now
good.
and then I pop down and give you 20. That's just we'll have to do it.
yeah, if he
Yeah.
disappears, he's
Yeah.
under the desk.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't ask any questions.
No, please, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
it gets awkward.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there somebody that you've met that you kind of geeked out? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I met this person, like musically or even just in life in general? Is there somebody who went, you're all of a sudden you're a fangirl? Oh,
There's
boy.
been a couple cool ones. Like, again, that's another interesting thing about Toronto is like there are kind of like Canadian music alumni still kind of around. So to give you an example, like about a month ago, I went to go see like a random show, and a guy by the name of Basil Donovan, he's the bass player in Blue Rodeo. He was just like there, like hanging out, and went up and played a couple songs with the band, just like very very casually, right? And I try and like give him his distance and that kind of thing. But it was pretty cool to see him out and about. And there's another guy by the name of Jimmy Bowskill. He's the guitar player in the Sheepdogs, big hero of mine, and I think one of the like hands down greatest guitar players to ever come out of Canada for sure. And had the opportunity to meet him, and it was a fantastic experience because not only is he like one of my favorite musicians, he's also just a great guy and super Canadian, like super down to earth, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, I remember one time in Peterborough when Alec and I were living out there, we were out at open mic at the Red Dog, and lo and behold, who walks in the room? Like Sheepdogs, and they ended up just like jumping on stage and doing a couple songs, and like that was a pretty special moment because there's only like 10 people in the bar at the time, so I actually had a chance to like talk with some of the guys in the group, and yeah.
Yeah, they're right up your alley. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just like musicianship wise and just like the music that they play and stuff. We saw them live.
I've seen them a couple of times.
Yeah.
I saw them at the NAC, which was a bigger venue for them, but I saw them before they became like bigger, and like they were just like, it was a 200 people in a bar.
Yeah.
Monster truck opened for them, and it was like
Oh,
and it was so loud, it was ridiculous. But I it was still such a great experience, and then I fell in love with them right away. I was like, this is so amazing, and they're Canadian, which is even better. So it was like we enjoyed them at the NAC too. There was a guy that is from Hull who's like a legend who played guitar with them as well. So
He's still with them.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yep.
I saw them for the first time in Sudbury, actually, when I was in grade 11. They played the Sudbury Summerfest, and I was stage crew with a couple of my buddies getting volunteer hours. So I got to meet them backstage and everything. And when they were on stage, actually, the guitarist, he wanted a beer, and he pointed at us to go in the room and grab him one. So we went into his room, drank a couple ourselves, ate some pizza, and then my buddy ran on stage and gave him a beer. And that was a pretty cool moment. But April Wine also played that weekend, and I got to meet those guys. But it was funny, the lead singer was freaking out because he didn't have coffee in his room and kind of gave us grief. And I'm like, dude, I'm just a volunteer, man. But it wasn't the best experience with him. But
now, is this... Sorry, because you said April Wine, and that's if you don't know the show, if you've never been on this, listen to it.
Dog's band.
I don't stalk the band. It's my favorite band.
His favorite band.
It's my favorite band. Yeah. And was it Miles Goodwin that you're talking about?
Yes, yeah.
You can out him because he's not around to to be pissed off about it. I've heard many stories about him being
challenging.
Challenging. Let's go with that word.
Well said.
But yeah, they're.
Where's my coffee?
Where's my kid? Why don't you have my coffee? Anyway,
I'm just eating pizza, dude.
That's pretty cool though that you got to meet him. Was Brian Greenway there as well?
I'm not too familiar with the bands. I don't know individual members, but like I'm definitely familiar with the music and
right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too. Like I met Jerry Mercer years and years ago, the drummer, but he probably wouldn't have been there because he's now in his 80s. So
yeah.
Yeah, Dog can talk for an hour just on that.
Seriously, don't get me started.
It's like me with the hip. It's like a go on forever.
We're big fans of the Hip too. Like I've seen them multiple times. Actually, the first concert I ever went to was Tragically Hip in North Bay, and it was again a really special moment. I was like 12 or 13 years old then, and It was
Yeah.
a pretty good first concert to be at.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I was lucky enough. I actually got to see the Hip in Bobcaygeon. They played a show at a farm there, and I grew up like 10 minutes away. And
Bro.
yeah,
I was there.
All right.
I
No
was there.
way.
My
Yeah.
sister's cottage is in Halliburton, and we went
yeah.
to the show, and it was incredible. It was
Yep.
amazing. Yeah,
Great experience.
we probably
truth
shook
is-
hands, bro. Had a beer,
Sorry?
together, probably for sure.
Yeah, almost certainly. It's actually all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
I remember that dude.
No, what I mean is, I had a beer and you had a beer at the same time at some
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great.
Yes.
I've seen the Hip 30 times, 30 plus
Oh,
times.
wow.
So I've seen them in upstate New York, and I saw them obviously in Ottawa and Toronto when on the last tour. In Kingston, I saw them in Bobcaygeon, so I was obviously a fan. When I ask, so if I ask a couple musicians who are solid like yourselves, were they good? Like, were they not just like a Canadian icon band, but they were tight too, right? Would you say they're a tight band?
Yeah, they're super unique sound too.
Absolutely. They were a great band of like top tier musicians that like toured across North America and like built their chops up like the old school way of like driving around in a van and playing a lot. And again, like Rob Baker, lead guitar player,
Mhm.
Paul Langlois, the rhythm guitar player, like super underrated just because they're Canadian and they didn't have that like global superstar success of other bands, but they were incredible.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
I mean, like you said, the whole band was tight, right? But I mean, of course, usually the singer kind of sticks out a little bit above everybody else. But the whole band, like everybody in the band, were good,
Yeah.
very, very good, and like you said, underrated, big time as musicians, not as a band.
I thought
Well,
it, but
that's what made a lot of that work. Like, there's a reason like Gord Downie could go on like a 10-minute rant about a whale,
Yeah.
and at the flick of a finger, the band just snaps right back into the remainder of the song.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily easy to do. Very unpredictable. A lot can go wrong, and like they just had the chops to be able to do that on a whim.
so true.
Yeah.
And even like when you watch the documentary, obviously you guys may have seen it or not, but like they played like I think it was I don't know who was at the end, but he said like you look at them and you're like, they played all the biggest rooms in the United States too. Like you like they played huge like not big venues, but some of the best rooms to play music in the United States. And you don't even think about it, but that's still quite a feat, right?
Absolutely, and like I think like for me as a musician, like there's a lot of people out there who would like love to go out and play like that like arena venue. But for me personally, like the old theaters, like a lot of the rooms that you're just kind of alluding to, like across the US or like somewhere like Massey Hall or Royal Albert Hall in London, like to me, those are like the holy grail, not like the 60,000 like NASCAR venue show. You know what I mean? Like those old like holy like the Fillmore. You have the Allman Brothers and Cream and Albert King and Otis Redding going out and playing those venues in the late 60s and 70s. To me, those are like the holy grail.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It kind of leads to my next. I like to ask this question because, and I think you guys will give me a great answer. If you could go back in time to any musical event or happening, what would it be?
I think I would love to attend the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. I think that was like an amazing lineup. You had Jethro Tull there, and then the Dirty Mac with John Lennon, Eric Clapton, Mitchie Mitchell on drums, and Keith Richards on bass. Like it seemed like a pretty amazing like festival performance, and it would have been cool to be a part of that. And obviously, watching the Stones headline there.
Cool.
I think it's like damn near impossible to beat that. That's a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a fan of that era of music and you haven't seen what he's talking about, it's definitely worth checking out. I think to go and see like somebody like Cream, like at the pinnacle of their career in like I said, Royal Albert Hall or the Fillmore or something like that, and just like kind of awe in the glory of Gibson guitar and a Marshall, just like way too loud, but beautiful at the same time. I think
Yep.
that would be pretty jaw dropping and special.
Nice.
Totally agree.
I don't know if they invented earplugs back then, but
Probably
it
not.
seemed like nobody wore them.
No.
I still can't get comfortable with them. I don't like them.
Yeah, I kind of have to now. Not when I'm playing, but when I'm like watching a live performance, like I'm starting to get that little ring in my ear. But it comes with the territory.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Wear it with like a badge of.
It's the ring that you really are proud of.
Yeah.
What if everything goes perfectly for you guys and you saw yourselves 5 years from now? What does that look like?
Might be different for Alec and I, but I personally, I want to be able to sell out every show that we play and like do like a Canadian tour, you know, play venues like Massey Hall. That'd be like pretty amazing. And yeah, I just eventually I want this to be my main job. And I just want to continue to write music and record albums and singles. I just want to do that for the rest of my life, you know, and that's the goal. And if I could make that happen financially, then obviously that's the dream. But hopefully in 5 years, if not, then talk to me in 10.
Write it down. 10 years.
5.
No, he said 5 and 10, so I'm going for 10.
Yeah.
5.
Fine.
Alec?
I would definitely concur with that. Like 5 years from now, it would be great to be in a position where, you know, all the other non-artistry stuff that I'd mentioned, you know, at the start of the call was not necessarily a concern or not necessarily as big a one as now. And we just had the opportunity to really like explore musically and just devote ourselves entirely to that. Being able to do like a tour across, you know, North America and the UK and Europe, that's definitely something that kind of like what Brian alluded to, like being able to set something up like that and know that it's going to be sold out every night and you're successful and you have the opportunity to like really express yourself as a musician and go in and play some of those legendary rooms that I mentioned, like going out and playing Massey Hall and Royal Albert Hall and some of those other legendary venues. And what the hell, maybe open for the Rolling Stones, because I have a feeling they're still going to be going by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will be. They're going to take Ringo and Paul McCartney with them and make a real band.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Could you
Could happen.
imagine?
Well, that's the joke, right? Is that, hey, the Rolling Stones don't have a drummer and they don't have a bass player, and the Beatles don't have anybody.
Please don't
Sure.
tease me. That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't it be, though?
That'd be a
Yeah.
trip. Maybe fucking 90 in 5 years though, but that'd be
So?
Mick could still have all that energy, you know.
Yeah.
Still have,
Ringo's
still
like a-
having kids for crying out loud.
Ringo's eternal, man. You seen the guy?
Yeah, he looks good.
Anyway, that would be pretty cool.
I was lucky enough. I got to see him live 2 years ago or a year ago, and he was great.
With his all-star band.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and,
cool.
You know, I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm like 100 feet from an actual Beatle.
How cool that's just like the coolest ever.
It's a trip.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trip. I would imagine that'd be amazing. Like, yeah, you got to kind of think about it, pinch yourself in the moment. Right?
No, seriously, man. Like I have a
I
couple.
mean, I
of,
pinched Alec in Bob Cajun, but he didn't remember.
yeah, because he was having a beer.
Yeah. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean,
He
the
was busy.
closest I've come to God like musical royalty is Robert Plant.
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, he served him at the
I met him.
freaking restaurant in
Yeah.
Ottawa. Like,
Yeah, he was in here for a show, and it was funny because the waitress was like, "I think I'm serving Robert Plant's band," and I went over and I took a look, and he had this big reggae hat on and these huge sunglasses. And I'm kind of going, I think that's Robert Plant. And all of a sudden, the other restaurant that we own, everybody's at the window, everybody's coming. It was crazy.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, yeah. But
Amazing.
he's like, so I chatted with him for a couple minutes. He goes, like, I guess the disguise didn't really work. I said, listen, Robert, if you come in with a ball cap on, I wouldn't have looked at you twice. That big,
Yeah,
colorful
yeah.
reggae hat and stuff.
Yeah.
It was pretty surreal to see that. So that's my little claim.
I think the
Dude.
closest you could get to seeing Led Zeppelin now would be watching Greta Van Fleet live.
I've seen them live.
Yeah, I saw them once at the Rebel with Alec there.
Yeah.
It
Cool.
was pretty amazing, man. Like they opened up the show with like a 15-minute guitar solo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. Actually, I like Greta Van Fleet.
Oh, when they came here, it was Blues Fest, and they were on the same stage as
Fighters, yeah.
those Foo Fighter guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'll tell you, we were there. I was there, and it was not as crowded for Greta Van Fleet. And I felt they were just learning the ropes of how to be a presence on stage and stuff.
Mhm.
And then once they went off, and then everybody started to come in, it was jam packed. You couldn't move. And then Dave Grohl comes on, and the first words out of his mouth, and the place erupts, right? So I'm
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
Greta Van Fleet, take notes, because this is how you do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think that it's a learning curve for them, right? But you're right; their sound is amazing as well.
Do you find listeners of your music take something different than you originally wrote the music about? If that makes sense. Like give you feedback that you might not expect.
I guess people might hear different influences in our songs. Like, yeah, it's tough because it's for me. It's like mostly our friends who are listening to our music, and like, yeah. What do you think, Alec?
I think it's. I haven't really had the chance to like really sit down like a random person and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, like, what do you think this song is about?" But I definitely notice like every time we play a show, there's more and more people there that like I have no idea who they are and they know like every word.
Yeah.
So I think it's really remarkable because like when I write lyrics, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's about something that's like really personal to me, or maybe it's something that happened to me in passing, but it's something that actually happened. And so it is a great question. You wonder, like, what do you interpret it? What do they interpret that as? Because I think about myself, like the hip is a great example, often very, very obscure lyrics. It's like you really have to dig to know what he's talking about. And I know what I take from it, but that's probably not what Gord Downey was thinking about when he wrote it, So it's one of those like musical phenomenons, but a really cool one that makes it more universal because you can take anything from it, and it can be about something that's completely different, but it can be just that word or two or that line or two or that chorus that strikes you and makes you think about your own life.
Yeah, totally. That's
Cool.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: as a songwriter, which would you prefer, or which would give you the bigger rush? Like you said, at a concert, sitting there and watching somebody sing your song back to you, or have another band record your song?
I think having people like sing back the lyrics, like for me, that's a pretty empowering feeling. Having like 40, 50, 60 people singing the words to your song. You could hear them while you're on stage, and like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, ideally both.
Well, let's go with both.
Yeah. Oh, you
I
could.
mean, it's that would be just a win-win-win. I mean, like
Yeah.
like Brian is saying, you get the musical rush and like kind of spiritual enjoyment of having that connection with somebody who's watching you play, and they're so into the music that you put so much work into that they know it well enough and are loving it enough to be singing it back to you. On the other kind of maybe more pragmatic side, if Paul McCartney recorded one of our songs tomorrow and put it out, I mean, that wouldn't hurt either.
Nope.
I'd still be a little angry, to be honest. Like, that's our song.
Paul, that's not what we meant when you said that.
Yeah, now
Well,
the bass line's going to be too good. I won't be able to replicate it.
Yeah, but you have the rights to it, so you'll get the cash from it.
Yeah.
You can send
Yeah.
him a note saying you played the bass line wrong, Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I wrote
true.
that.
I
Yeah.
used the Stingray.
Yeah, seriously.
So we ask every guest the same question. So there's 2 decades of music that we like to ask about, and which one decade between the 80s and the 90s do you prefer of music?
You don't get the 60s or 70s, guys. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
we established that.
I'll pick 90s.
Yeah, I'd probably go with 90s too.
Yeah.
All right. Can we call up the friends and the rest of the band to see what they
Yeah.
say? I'm teasing.
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
Dog's an 80s guy.
They would
Yeah.
probably be 90s too, though, right?
It's true.
I think so. I would say, like, as a guitar player, I don't know. It's all what you're into, right? Like,
Mhm.
whatever. But for me, I'm not big on the production of the '80s. There was the drum sounds they had and the guitar
Uh-huh.
sounds they had. Just not my thing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, Dog. You're
I guess no. But we make a joke about it. We really don't care. Like it's I do. No, we care about your answer. It's just that
it's tough.
I love the '80s music, but I also really enjoy the '90s as well. And Gus is the same, but he's pro '90s, I'm pro '80s for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's age. I don't know.
It's likely age. I mean, it was influential for me in the '90s. That was just kind of how it was. But I also grew up with my parents playing CCR and Fleetwood Mac and BB King and you know like all these classics that I love still, 60s, 70s. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why we exclude those 2 decades because we just like a
too
lot of
easy.
people.
Too easy of an
exactly.
way too easy.
Exactly.
I
It's
love
cool
that you
to
love
see
Cream
the-
too. But
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like cool to see the '70s bands who are still around in the '80s, and you can see how their songs kind of morphed and their sound morphed to the times. It's always pretty interesting. Like Rolling Stones had a different '80s phase. I wasn't too much of a fan of, but
I'm so hot for her. I'm so hot for her. Yeah, that was
they had a few, but I mean that was just the time, right? But it's fun now. I've noticed like with the Sheepdogs and the Damn Truth out of Montreal, and some other bands. It's like the '70s are coming back.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That sound, that look, that feel. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we love it.
Well, it's musicianship at its best, right?
Yeah.
It's like they don't use the technology. I mean, technology certainly helps, and you guys can speak on that a bit more than I can. But like going back to the basics of the feeling of a guitar and a bass and a drum and maybe some keys. But like I would suspect that you would agree that technology helps, but it's still the musicianship that has to be solid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of like, I mean, now like anything's marketable, right? Sad and that's a sad thing. But back in that era, it's like you're saying, like especially if you're recording to tape, you don't have the tools available to go back and just like nudge something with the flick of your computer mouse, right? And you take GarageBand on an iPhone, there's more technology and more tools and tricks and cheats on that than there was in a full-on recording, the greatest, most technologically advanced recording studio in the world in 1975 or 1969, or you go back to Elvis, you're looking at recording everything on like a mic or two.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still here today. Like like
Still
you said,
here
like
today,
the Stones and the Beatles and Zeppelin and Cream and like all those, B.B. King. I mean, this transcending, right? Like,
Hendrix.
that guy too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was okay.
Yeah, we could go on and on.
We could. We really could.
So March 22nd, you're playing the Bank Art House in Welland, and then on April 4th, you're playing the Horseshoe.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's going to be a big one. That's going to be. We're releasing another single April 4th, and we're going to have a huge release party at the Horseshoe this time round, and really looking forward to that one.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We'll look forward to when you hook up with the boys from.
Taming Sorry.
Thank you.
Taming Sorry, yeah.
I just had a stroke there.
Yeah, at a moment. And we'd love to see you down here too.
Absolutely.
Up here, I should say down here. Up
Absolutely,
here.
yeah.
Come when it's nicer, not when there's 40 centimeters of snow.
Yeah. Just wait till
I thrive in the snow.
All right, so
it's true, eh?
Brian can come down now, and then everybody else can come down later.
That's right. Yeah. You can stay with me. No, you don't want to. No, it's not bad. I'm doing a lot of push-ups lately. Listen, thanks guys for some time today, and we love your stuff. So we really appreciate your time and spending a bit of time with us. So appreciate it.
Can't wait for the new single to come out for sure.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us, and be glad to do it again.
Sounds great. Okay, just stay with us just for a few minutes after, and cheer up. Thanks again.
Dawg and Gus, Dawg and Gus, Dawg and Gus.